Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Bill. We're going to be in Basic Fantasy for this video. You can get your own PDF copy that would be free from basicfantasy.org. We're going to go over, we're still in the adventure chapter. We're going to go over wilderness adventures. Most of this is just about traveling in the wilderness. So a lot of it's just going to be me looking at a couple things on a table and relaying it to you. But we'll start with wilderness movement rates. Movement rates when traveling in the wilderness are related directly to the encounter movement rates as shown on the table below. So say your character can move 30 feet in a round. Your miles per day you could cover is 18 on this table. If it was 20 feet per round, it would be 12 miles per day. Naturally, any group traveling together moves at the rate of the slowest member, so keep that in mind as well, unless you want the group to split up. Overland travel. The movement rates shown on the table above are figured based on 8-hour day of travel through open, clear terrain. The terrain type will alter the rate somewhat, as shown on this table. So if you're traveling through jungle, mountains, and swamp, your movement gets adjusted by 1.3 or times 1/3. Sorry. If it's desert, forest, hills, it's times 2/3. If it's clear plains or a trail, it's normal. If it's a paved road, it's 1 1/3 times. So you could travel even further on a paved road. Characters may choose to perform a forced march traveling 12 hours per day. If this is done, add an additional 50% to the distance traveled. Each day of forced march performed after the first inflicts 1d6 damage on the characters and their animals, if any. A save versus death ray with constitution bonus applied is allowed to avoid this damage, but after this save is failed once, it is not rolled again for that character or creature. A day spent resting restarts the progression. So you'd have to rest a day to recover to the point where you could make a save versus the force march. Otherwise, you take that force march damage every day you after failing your first save. Waterborne travel. Travel by water may be done in a variety of boats or ships. See the table on vehicles section for details. Travel distances are based on a 12-hour day of travel rather than the usual 8 hours per day given above. Note that sailed ships may travel 24 hours per day if a qualified navigator is aboard, and so may be able to cover twice the normal distance per day of travel. This is in addition to the multiplier given below. If the ship stops each night, as is done by some vessels traveling along a coastline, as well as those vessels having less than a minimum number of regular crewmen on board, the 2 times multiplier does not apply. Movement of sailed ships varies depending on weather conditions as shown on the following table. Sailing movement modifiers shown aptly when sailing with the wind. Sailing against the wind involves tacking, called zigzagging by landlubbers, which reduces movement rates as indicated on the table. So you roll a d12 for wind direction, and then you have the specific wind conditions. Notes, be calmed. Sailing ships cannot move. Oared ships may move at given rowing movement rates. Very strong winds. Sailing against the wind, tacking is not possible. Gale. Sailing against the wind is not possible, and ships exposed to a gale may be damaged or sunk. Apply 2d8 points of damage to any such ship per hour sailed. So you need to be careful when you hit the really strong winds and above, gale being the highest. Okay. Traveling by air. When traveling by air, overland movement rates are doubled, and all terrain effects are ignored. Most winged creatures must maintain at least 1/3 normal forward movement in order to remain airborne. However, devices such as flying carpets generally do not have this limitation. And then finally, becoming lost. Adventures following roads, trails, rivers, streams, or other obvious landmarks are unlikely to become lost. However, when the party strikes out into a trackless forest, a wind-blown desert, they may become lost. Secretly roll a save versus death ray, adjusted by the wisdom of the party leader, i.e. whichever player character seems to be leading. Alternatively, an ability rolled against wisdom may be rolled if that optional rule is in use. The GM must determine the effects of a failed roll. So, I like the idea of players getting lost when they're adventuring through a forest and stuff. Usually, it doesn't come up too much in my D&D games because they usually have a ranger in the party or a druid. So, but without those, there's a good chance you'd definitely become lost. Especially if no one's ever been there and there's no markers to follow. So, it'd be fun to play into that a little bit. Well, that's it for this video. The next one's going to be on retainers, specialists, and mercenaries, and I think I'll just be reading the retainer part of that because that is quite a bit of text. So, until we all game again, guys.